Riding divine horses, yes, the forces of the sun, with gentle touching me so much to bring our dreams into this reality. We set each other free. Alrighty, everybody, welcome to another edition of the Eagle's Nest podcast. You are here with your host, co-creator, and everything else that has to do with Eagle's Nest podcast, Drew Banky. Here on another Sunday night. Good to be home. Was as a lot of you know, I was out traveling, had a little breakdown, was stuck in Golden, Colorado for a few more days than expected, and yeah, it was hot. So spent a lot of time inside in the air condition and a lot of time around the pool, and yeah, walking around definitely in the evenings. But man, it was hot in Denver over this past week, really hot. But yeah, we're back home. Truck's fine and ready to do some more traveling. We got a lot more traveling coming up. We were up in Golden, me and Ella and Hawk, we attended, and I spoke at um, the Stardust Festival in Golden, Colorado. My friend Bobby Joe put that on as organizer. It was in downtown. They got an event center there. It was really awesome. Little small turnout, real intimate. Got to have some deep conversations there, but it was good. Yeah, and then we just spent the next couple of days just chilling and waiting to get our vehicle fixed and everything. And so we're back home down here in the San Luis Valley, and man, do I have a treat for you tonight. I got my friend Charles. He is the co-founder, co-owner, mastermind behind Myself Wellness. It's a ketamine treatment facility in Bonita Springs, Florida. And he's just doing some amazing work. He has a real legit facility down there. And we're going to bring him on here in just a few moments. But next, give you just a few heads up things. Let's see. Next Sunday we got Micah Dank coming on, and that's gonna be an interesting conversation. Can't wait to get into that one. Let me see. And I just booked tomorrow. You can check me out on Ascension of the Chessman. I just booked just a little while ago, so I had to look that up and see what the name of that podcast was. I'll be on that tomorrow. I think that's starting 8 o'clock my time, 8 o'clock Mountain Time. So I'll be down there talking, spilling my beans once again, and so looking forward to that. And it'll be my first time on that program. And November 18th, 19th, and 20th. If you're in Florida or if you don't have any plans before Thanksgiving and all that in that middle November time frame, come check me, Hawk, and Alyssa out at Zen Awakening Festival. We're going to be there for 3 days. I'm going to be speaking there, going to be playing some music there, doing some sound healings, tarot readings, and whatever else comes about. Yeah, maybe doing some tobacco, maybe some tobacco ceremonies. But come check me out if you're in Florida at Zen Awakening Festival, November 18th, 19th, and 20th. Put it on your calendar. Get your tickets now. I know that they're close to selling out on tickets, on camping, and a couple other things. I know they still have some. I know they still have some tickets left. So go check them out. Zen Awakening Festival, Orlando, Florida. come hang out with me. That's it's going to be a fun time. Me and Ella always like to throw in a couple festivals in all these speaking and all these other things we like to throw in a little fun festivals, and this is one we attended before, and it's going to be a good one. So Zen Awakening Festival, November 18th, 19th, 20th, in Orlando, Florida. You can look it up. It's not really in Orlando, but it's close. But Zen Awakening Festival, you could definitely find some information if you hit that Google button. But yeah, let's see what else we got going on. Oh yeah, if you want to set in a traditional ayahuasca ceremony with me and Ella, you can go visit Cosmic Tree of Life. We're gonna be going there and serving medicine. The end if the end of August. So it'd be the weekend of the 26th, 27th, 28th of August. That's just next month. Just it's not. It's like what 5 weeks away, maybe 6 weeks away. Yeah, but that's gonna be up in Wisconsin. It's gonna be on a lake. It's got cabins, and yeah, if you want to set 2 nights in a row with traditional ayahuasca with me and Ella, um, serving the medicine, go check out cosmictreeoflife.org, and you can get more information and sign up for the retreat that's coming up on at the end of August. So it's a 2 night retreat. I think it's Friday and Saturday. But go check us out over there. And yeah, there's a lot of other stuff coming up, but can't talk about a lot of it. Yeah, there's just a lot of projects in the works being talked about, and nothing nailed down permanently. But yeah, that's what we got coming up. Um, let's see. That's about. Oh, I got Paul Hynek. So he was his father, J. Allen Hynek, was part of a government program. Damn project. I think Project Blue Book. Anyways, we're gonna have him on. I've been speaking with him. He's agreed to come on. We haven't locked down a date. Man, that's gonna be a great conversation. Paul Hynek, guys, we're gonna have him on soon. But yeah, I'm just rambling at this point. So let's bring on my buddy. Stop wasting time. I've already wasted nine minutes. We got Charles for 2 hours tonight, guys. So we're gonna pick his brain on ketamine, and we're gonna get my ugly mug off here real quick and replace it with my buddy Charles. Welcome to the Eagles Nest podcast. How are you doing, my friend?
Hey, man, I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here, brother. So before we take a deep dive into the world of ketamine, uh, what what was your child life like, and you can lead up to what you led you into your spiritual awakening, or what started this path towards ketamine.
Yeah, for sure, man. So, my dad passed when I was really young, and it totally shook me up. And at a very young age, I started self-medicating with alcohol. And going into my early teen years, I started experimenting with cocaine and other substances, and I completely got strung out on drugs and alcohol growing up. And it was because I was self-medicating my depression, anxiety, and then also a crippling fear of death that I had. It was really bad. It would get to the point where, like, growing up, I would literally wake up every day, and the first thing that would pop in my head is like, am I going to die today? And it was because my dad had passed when I was young like that. But psychedelic medicine saved my life, man. It got to the point where I was completely strung out on opiates and coke and benzos, every single thing. And then I was addicted to food and scratch off tickets and just and women and anything that would take me outside of myself. And I actually had quit a 6-year heroin addiction from a DMT experience that I had. I went to an alternate universe where there was a bunch of beings that looked like Dr. Manhattan that were there. And I went into it with the intention with wanting to get off the opiates. And when I got there, they were all cheering for me. and they were all gray, but there was one of them, he was green, and he had a red ruby where his third eye would be on his front of his, that would resemble the third eye on his forehead. And they were just chanting and clapping and like, you can do it, it's not too late. And I literally went to my mother's house, detoxed myself, and quit that heroin addiction because of a dimethyltryptamine experience. Um, Moving forward, I was still having issues with alcohol and cocaine, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to pull a Terrence McKenna, and I'm going to take a macro dose of mushrooms in pitch black, and I'm going to meditate on it, and let's see what happens. So I took 6 grams of albino penis envy, and I locked myself in my bedroom in the pitch black, and I went under my comforter and I meditated. And that night I went and I left my body and I went out into the universe, and I became one with everything and realized that I am one with everything, that we're all it, and that, we are the divine. And when I came back down into my body, it was a complete shell shock experience that I realized every time I was taking drugs and alcohol, I was basically poisoning God. And so I did a lot of crying and apologizing to the universe that night, and vowed to change my life and start to go on my healing journey. And I had a lot of profound experiences leading up to that one too. There was a number of them, and it was a process for me. It was a lot of profound experiences at the beginning where, the higher dimensional beings, all kinds of messages I was receiving telepathically, and I didn't have anybody to integrate it with. Anybody I did try to talk to about it thought I had lost my mind, so I kept it really quiet. And and I feel like that's why integration is really important with these medicines, because you need to have somebody to ground you and talk things out with you so you can really process it. But so through the use of psychedelic medicines, meditation, breath work, healthy lifestyle changes, I turned into a completely different person than I used to be, and it was a direct result of these healing modalities.
It's a beautiful story, man. It's and, and just like it, I hear so many of these stories, and one thing that every one of them is very unique, but also there's a vibration that is very common in every single one of them. And I think it goes just a testament to like every breath that we take, where so it's really the balance of everything. It's that uniqueness, but that common vibration that holds it all together in the background. That it's just so beautiful, man. Like so, I commend you, and I see you, brother. Like obviously, we've had some experiences, but what? How did ketamine come into the situation?
All right. Well, so my first profound out of body experience that I ever had was almost a decade ago, and it was actually on ketamine and MDMA. And I had another. That was I left. Everything broke down to quantum mechanics in the room. I could literally see all the atoms humming and vibrating and everything. And I was skyrocketed out of my body into deep space. And I received a ton of messages that night that I was supposed to get my life together and try to, in order to help heal people. And I thought I had lost my mind at that point, because I was like, oh yeah, I'm supposed to get my life together and help heal people, and I can't even get, it's like my life was a mess back then. And so the thing is, though, is the next day when I woke up, like after that night, I felt the depression was gone and my anxiety was gone, and it was magical. It made me feel like I was a kid again. It was like no kind of relief I had ever got leading up to that point from anything. So I knew there was something to ketamine. And when to fast forward to where we were at before we opened up the clinic, I was in a different industry. I was working in the electronics industry. I'd gone to a trade show in Mexico, and I'm out at the dinner with all these different CEOs of these companies, and I'm asking them if they know what DMT and psilocybin are, and ketamine and all these things. And I knew that I was in the wrong industry. So I came back from Mexico. I told my fiance Christina, I was like, listen, if I went through 20 years of misery and I don't use what helped me to help other people heal, it was a waste of 20 years of my life. So we took a leap of faith. I quit my jobs with our 6-month-old son. That had, he was 6 months old. Christina was really nervous about it, but we took the leap of faith. We started a wellness center where, we wanted to hopefully get into psychedelic therapy one day. And we wanted to get into ketamine because we knew it was the only thing that was, anybody had access to because it's FDA approved. And it was the synchronicity of the universe. Everything started lining up. It was like, we thought Christina was going to need a medical director from us for some of the aesthetic procedures that she was going to be doing because she was an esthetician back then. And so I was at her mother's house with her, and I looked at her and I said, wouldn't it be great if we bumped into Dave? And he's a friend of ours that's a doctor. And I said, he would be our medical director. And she's like, oh, yeah, that would be amazing. And literally the next day I'm walking into the gym and Dave's walking up beside me, and I look up and I'm like, no way. Right. So I walk over and I'm like, hey, man, listen, do we need a medical director for these procedures? Because we don't know. And he's like, oh, it's a gray area. He's like, but, you want to work out today? And I'm like, yeah, sure. Let's work out. About 30 minutes into our workout, he looks at me and he's like, hey, Charles, why don't you just ask me to be your medical director? And I'm like, okay, Dave, that's amazing, And then it was like, yeah, right. I was just like, the stars are aligning. Here we go. And then like, it was crazy because a week later, he's like, okay, let me come check out the facility. I want to do a walkthrough and see what you guys got going over there. And he walks through the facility. And then at the end of it, he looks at us and he's like, have you ever heard of ketamine before? And I'm like, no way. I'm like, yeah, we've heard of ketamine before. We want to get into ketamine because psychedelic medicine saved my life. And he is like, all right, let's do ketamine. Then a week after that, a mutual friend I had with our current medical director now, his name is Dr. Andrew Ferber, and I'll get into him in a little bit, but Dr. Ferber, listen, his first LSD experience was in 1957 in a clinical study. The guy was friends with Ram Dass and Timothy Leary. He lived with Osho for 20 years. Drew, you actually met him. He's an amazing man. And he basically wanted to come and check us out to put his seal of approval on things to make sure we were legit. So we sit down, we have this meeting. This guy's talking about astral projection and how he met Ram Dass in the astral plane the first time they met outside of the physical body before they met in the physical body the next day for the first time. And I'm just looking at him and I'm enamored. And I'm like, God, I wish we could work with this guy. And so after all of his tales of Osho and all of these different things, he looks at us and he's like, so tell me, what do you need me for? And I'm just like, it just keeps getting better and better. So I'm like, well, could you be our psychiatrist? And he's like, yeah. And so the thing is Dr. Ferber's actually our medical director now as well, because Dave got the ball rolling for us. We got all the paperwork lined up and stuff like that. But he had 3 other practices, and it was a better fit with Dr. Ferber because he had more time to devote to all of this. And literally just one thing after the other, the synchronicity of the universe was conspiring to make this all happen. It's like, it wasn't me. I just kept showing up, staying positive, keeping my vibration high, putting the polarity out there of what we needed, and manifestations were coming to fruition, and we actually opened our doors to the facility a week before the lockdown. Okay. This is like the worst time in history to open a business. We were doing physical therapy at that time. Like 3 weeks into it, one of our physical therapy patients drives his G-Wagon through the building wall. It was crazy. It was almost like,
I remember that.
Yeah,
I was there. I was there for that.
It was test after test after test. And I just kept saying, just stay positive. Don't worry. We got this. This is supposed to happen. It's just a test of our faith. And now, moving forward almost 3 years, we have done thousands of psychedelic ketamine therapy treatments on people, and we have helped hundreds and hundreds of people get off of their pharmaceutical medications.
That's amazing, bro. Like,
thank you. I appreciate
it, dude. It's the saying always talks about, the butterfly, can create a hurricane on the other side of the world. And man, if you're creating hurricanes, just think what that is creating on the other side of the world, Yeah. And just everyone that you wake up and reconnect them to a source, connect them back to that inner light. It's you're doing a lot of work on many different levels, man. And just the work of getting people off pharmaceuticals alone. But I know the byproduct off of your work, what it's doing in the background. We can sell it to people all day long and tell them it's to get people off of pharmaceuticals and heroin addiction and all that stuff. That's a small part of what it does.
I'm happy that we're on. I'm happy. I'm really happy to be on your show tonight because I do have to stick to the science a lot for people sometimes, but we can dabble in the what I
Yeah,
really know
yeah.
this medicine's doing for people.
Do you,
And
do you do you
go ahead.
mind if I share? Do you mind if I share our first moment meeting?
I
What
would love it,
happened?
man. Please.
Okay, so I've shared this moment before. People has heard me share this on shows before, but this is the guy that was glowing. So we were. I it was like I went to like a psychedelic meet and greet. Some mutual friends invited me to go listen at this guy's facility. He said you need to meet this guy and go share in this group. It's I think this is before my books. So but I knew my books were gonna come out. Like I knew they were gonna come out soon. I knew I was about to start sharing my message. So I was starting to like go around and listen to places and show up to places and start to speak a little bit. So I show up to Charles's place, and there's this big round circle, and Charles is sitting like directly across from me, and like I'm vibrating the entire time, like we're we're going through this, and it finally comes around to me, and someone says, "Hey, Drew, would you want to speak?" And I introduce myself, and like and then the conversation like takes off. It's like, oh shit, like this dude's like, he serves ayahuasca, all this other stuff, Sundance, or all these other things, and then the conversation really takes off. The conversation starts to go towards the end, and I'm looking at Charles, and I'm thinking, man, like it's crazy that the sun is setting behind this dude. Like it's like coming through a window, and it's like setting like right behind him. And I didn't think anything more about it and walked outside, and we started talking outside his uh outside right outside the front door. And at that time I was smoking tobacco, and I was like buzzing, man. So I was like, I need to smoke some tobacco. I lit up some tobacco and like looked, and the sun was setting on the opposite side of the building. And I realized then that you're the only person that I've ever saw the aura. I saw your aura for You're the only person up until this point. I've never saw aura before. I'm not a visual. I'm more like a just get download type of person. I don't get visual things. And yeah, that you're the first and only person I've ever seen their aura, man. I realized when I saw the sun setting at the opposite side of the building that it was your aura that I saw. Like
I
that's
love
a
it, man.
crazy.
It's
That's
beautiful, man.
crazy.
It's beautiful. I love it, man. You know, there's so many different kinds of ketamine therapy out there, and like we specialize in psychedelic ketamine therapy, man. And the truth is that an intermuscular shot of ketamine at the right dose is very similar to an hour-long DMT or ayahuasca experience, or even an ibogaine experience. I've been talking to some ibogaine practitioners lately, and it's like we have people having full-on out-of-body experiences at the right doses. We have people having divine experiences where they say they become God or they are in the presence of source. We have people that say they speak with deceased relatives during their treatments sometimes. Sometimes people will go back to a past traumatic experience and watch it from a third party perspective where there's no feelings or emotions attached to it, so they can really process it, release it, and let it go. You know, ketamine's not classified as a psychedelic. It's an FDA approved anesthetic. It's a dissociative anesthetic. And ketamine's actually been FDA approved since 1970 as an anesthetic. Typical psychedelic compounds work on the serotonin receptors in the brain, while ketamine actually works on the NMDA receptors in the brain. And it's not affecting the serotonin levels, but ketamine's also going in and turning on the receptor in the brain that creates dopamine. So we're starting to have people creating more dopamine naturally, which is your feel good chemical. It's what motivates you to go out and manifest your dreams. And some of the science behind the ketamine is that whenever we've had any kind of traumatic experiences in our life or just through the course of life, our neural pathways get damaged. And when the neurons are trying to flow through these pathways, they start to bounce off the walls, which causes depression, anxiety, PTSD, and a string of other things. Ketamine's physiologically remapping, restructuring these neural pathways, sprouting something called new dendrites, which is causing new neuroplasticity or new neural connections in the brain. So this stuff isn't just another band-aid. I tell people, like, they're like, what's the difference between this and my pharmaceutical, like my antidepressant I'm taking? I'm like, that's a band-aid. This is the surgery. This is going to go in and get the, like, literally physiologically change and remap things, and like, that's the science I stick to a lot of the times. And the science is great because it's getting, other psychedelic compounds pushed through FDA approvals and clinical studies where we'll have access to these healing modalities. But I have to say that we're in some spiritual work that we do. This is very spiritual work that we do. And,
Yeah.
I had a girl do her first treatment the other day, and she says that she was in the presence of angels. Angels were singing all harmonically for her, and there was butterflies flying everywhere. And it was the most beautiful, profound experience that she had ever had in her life. And it's like, that is really what, like, for me personally, ketamine is one of the highest vibrational crystals on the planet. I'm sorry, highest vibrational crystals on the planet. And like, that's what this is all about. This is about raising the collective vibration. Okay. And
Yeah.
so, just like I've vibrated on DMT before, or even through meditation and holotropic breath work, I literally get to that vibrational state where I'm buzzing, like, when I did my ketamine treatments at the facility, I was vibrating at the highest frequency I had ever vibrated at possible. It was almost like I felt like I was going to explode. And when you think of things in terms of vibration and frequency, we have a lot of shedding that happens at our facility, meaning people's vibrations rise to such a high frequency that they shed off lower vibrational things that no longer serve them anymore. You can put whatever label on those things that you would like to, but I think we all get the drift. And that's why we sage every day when we open the facility. We sage every night when we close down the facility to clear and cleanse the energy, because there's a lot of real deep healing that happens at our facility. And we are one of those clinics that isn't just about the Western medicine. The medicine's great. The medicine does its job. It's a catalyst. It's a tool. But we also bring the Eastern practices of teaching people about meditation and breath work and healthy lifestyle changes, which are the real recipe for long-term success with the medicine. As cliche as it sounds, if nothing changes, nothing changes. So the medicine will do its job, but if you're still eating unhealthy and you're not doing a daily practice of meditation or whatever your thing is, I exercise a lot, I eat healthy, I eat organic, I drink, reverse osmosis of water. I do everything to try to cleanse my being, as the temple of the divine that it truly is, to keep myself at the highest vibrational place possible. Because I believe that when we're at those high vibrational places, that's when we tap into the frequency of love, gratitude, and abundance, and which really can propel things forward. At the end of the day, it's not about money. I don't care about the money, but money is energy, and it does take money to make things happen. And when you're trying to create a psychedelic healing empire, that's what we need to do. So we really just focus on healing one person after the next, and not healing like, hey, I'm a healer and I'm going to heal you because you're broken and I know what's best for you. It's more like an energetic communion of, hey, listen, we're all on this healing journey together, and I'm going to sit here and hold your hand through the process of it. And I'm going to let you know some things that have worked for me in my own personal journey. And if it sounds like something that you want to practice in your life, well, then I'll help you do that as well.
That's beautiful, man. That's why we're buddies, and that's why you're on this show, because that's I tell everybody, like, if you go up to someone and they're boasting about they're a healer, like, it's probably a pretty good chance that they are still on their journey. you know. And we're all on the journey, and we all will continue on the journey. But getting over the I know I'm a healer part is a big one, man.
Well,
And
hey, the real truth of the matter is, I am you and you are me, and we are one,
that's
man.
that's true, man. I talk about my first book. I talk about the truth of the divine. I'm perfect, and so are you. When that hit me, when I found out that the reality was really the perfection, our mutual friend Michael here. So yeah, I've actually ran some combo ceremonies at your facility
Yeah, man.
uh, in the beginning.
Yeah.
That was amazing. Thanks for opening your space for that and everything. And I think you should find the right practitioner and add that into your facility. It's totally legal. It's definitely something that you should look into.
No, yeah, and like actually, like I don't think I would do it on site as far anymore, just because we're using a Schedule 3 drug at our facility. But I'm definitely open to helping coordinate those things and put a like a safe space for people to do them at, because I am a huge believer. I saw Michael chime in. Hey man, I love you, brother. And
Yeah,
honestly, man, listen, like, ketamine's the Trojan horse of this psychedelic renaissance that's underway. People are sleeping on it because most of the companies out there that are doing ketamine therapy aren't doing psychedelic ketamine therapy. They're running a low dose IV over a 45-minute period. They're using a homogenized dosing protocol of zero point 0.5 milligrams per kilogram. And the true magic of the medicine and the true psychedelic experiences happen when you're in a disassociated state. Remember, it's a dissociative anesthetic. And the
hmm
thing is that doing the protocol like the one I just told you about really doesn't get people into those disassociated states. It's not even really getting people up to a therapeutic dose of the medicine. We do run IVs from our facility, but we really prefer to do intermuscular shots of the medicine. There's something very magical about all of the medicine hitting the system at one time like that to get people into these disassociated states. And just to let everybody know out there, we are a holistic wellness center. We might use ketamine therapy, which is a synthetic, to get people off of their pharmaceutical medications, but we do medical cannabis referral. We teach people about meditation. We do like IVs of different vitamins and stuff like that. But like, we really are pointing people in the direction of that holistic lifestyle, because that's what we believe in.
Now, do you know any connection to any certain psychedelic sacred medicine that ketamine connects back to? Say, what doTERRA or anything like what any others old psychedelics that might be lost for a while. Like I'm sure there's a spirit attached to it, but how? My question is, how old is that spirit? I
So
guess.
the thing is, it's so not to scare anybody off, but ketamine's actually in the PCP family. The thing is that they were using PCP in the 60s, and they were actually using it for therapeutic use as well. But people were becoming violent and having outbursts and stuff like that on it. So they actually derived ketamine from it and made it a lot safer. I did hear that they found ketamine growing on a mushroom. I'm not sure of the actual validity of that statement, but the thing is that, let's put it this way. So I wouldn't ever break HIPAA laws normally. I'm going to mention something though, because he actually did a video testimonial for us and said we could publicly release it. That's going to be coming out. And I think that this testimonial is going to change a lot of people's lives. I mean, a lot of people's opinions about it being a synthetic. So a dear friend of mine, Mr. Greg Lake, came out to our facility, and he actually went through the ketamine therapy, and he said that it was one of the most healing medicines he'd ever worked with. He swore that he actually shedded off an entity during one of his treatments at our facility. And, you know, he went on record on a video testimonial that we're getting ready to release and said that everything is perfect and everything is divine, so that this medicine should be taken seriously and actually, not looked at like it's something bad, because it's a synthetic and it's not all natural. He's
Mm,
actually going to be putting My Self Wellness on Entheo Connect, which is his new website that's referring people to um, preferred churches and people that are doing things the correct way to make sure people feel safe. And this is really for entheogenic medicines, but he's actually including us on there as a ketamine treatment facility because he saw that, that we're doing it right and we're doing it for the right reasons, and that we're not there to hurt anybody or add another crutch into somebody's life. We're really there to actually, help people and get them to a point where they don't need to do ketamine therapy. You know,
mhm,
people ask me, I get a lot of repercussion from sobriety groups sometimes because they're like, well, ketamine, you're not sober if you're taking ketamine. And the truth is that, like, I don't do ketamine treatments anymore. I did them when we opened up. I haven't done a ketamine treatment for over 2.5 years. And people also seem to forget the fact that Bill Wilson, the co-founder of Alcoholics Anonymous, used psychedelics to heal himself. He actually
mm,
was in detox, had a belladonna extract experience in like 1933, where he had a profound spiritual awakening, saw visions of the future, saw a society of alcoholics helping each other stay sober. And then 20 years into Bill's recovery, he used LSD to heal his own depression. Now, so like, do you think that 20 years into Bill's recovery that he reset his sobriety date when he took LSD? Absolutely not. And I think it's ridiculous for a lot of people to shun people for these reasons. I have a lot of people that are in recovery coming to our facility to get treated, and they're like, my sponsor says that this is a relapse. And I'm just like, listen, just this is your healing journey. This is your life. If you're coming here with the intention of healing, because intention is very important. If you're coming here with the intention of healing your depression or your anxiety, and you use this medicine for the therapeutic value, that's exactly what you're going to get. And I
mm.
have friends that have like 10 and 15 years of sobriety under their belt, and they're coming to the facility and going through these treatments. And they're like, this is the first time I haven't been depressed in a decade. Like, I'm living by spiritual guidelines. I've worked the steps. I'm in service. I work with other people and help them stay sober and, sponsor people. But like my personal life, like, I'm depressed. I have anxiety. And see, that was me. I was wanting to get sober for so many years of my life. And then I'd put like 6 months of sobriety together and I'd be so depressed, have so much anxiety. And I was just like, if this is the way I'm going to feel for the rest of my life, I'm just going to go get high again because I can't take this anymore. And see, psychedelic medicines did the opposite for me. It got to the root issues, the root cause of why I was self-medicating with whatever the substance was to begin with. And the substance was just, it was just it was the substance didn't matter. It was basically just whatever I was medicating all of those underlying issues with. So it's like, if people are like, oh, I drink a whole bunch but I don't take drugs, well, you're just medicating with the alcohol rather than the drugs. And so there's it's all just the same thing. It's all just taking the pain away. And the psychedelics got me to the place where there was no pain left. And I have to say that even though I had all of these spiritual, profound oneness experiences on other psychedelic compounds, the ketamine did for my mood and demeanor what none of the other compounds had done. It took me from the peaks and valleys that I went through in my daily life, and it really brought me to the most cool, calm, centered, and collected place. And like, since I've done my ketamine treatments, I've really stepped away from the psychedelic healing journey just because I kept getting the same message over and over again. And though it was basically, be here now, like Ram Dass would say. And it's like, stay in the present and manifest your reality because, like, we're all it. You don't like, I lost my
Mhm.
fear of death. That was crippling because I realized when we are the divine, that there is no such thing as death. And that was
Yeah.
a very liberating thing. And, during a lot of ketamine treatments at our facility, just like on other psychedelic compounds at macro doses, we have people that have death experiences. Not that they're actually dying by any means at our facility, but they have a death experience during their trip. And then when they come back from the actual experience and then they're not dead, they're like, it's this liberating experience. And you know what? It really makes you not take for granted some of the things that you've been taking for granted anymore. The
I so
emblem. Go ahead, man. I'm sorry.
I so agree, man. Like, you know, I talk about this a lot. It's been a subject here lately, um, about the fear of death. I lost my real fear of death, when I died, like a near death experience in the Sundance, from fasting, and just I was out and then came back, but I knew what everybody was said around me and everything, and definitely had an experience simultaneously on the other side that was very profound. But uh, I think that that's the point of enlightenment, when we lose the fear of death, when we actually see the truth. It's one thing to read about it and hear Ram Dass talk about it, hear about his, uh, that's another LSD, product of LSD. That consciousness that Ram Dass brought forward was a big part due to LSD. So there's, this is the psychedelic renaissance. But I think the bigger picture, past the UFOs, past the psychedelics, past the mystical experiences and all that, I think when you get down to it, is losing the fear of death, because when you realize that the eternal life that's talked about in spiritual texts, not only the Bible but others, plenty of other spiritual texts, that eternal life that they're talking about, when you actually understand it, it's, what else is there, man? Like, what do you do after that? That you just try to change the universe, like Ramdas said when he took overdose on LSD in the Mid America Hotel back in the late '60s. He said he went into the space in between two thoughts and found a timeless space where he was without form, but he could also affect the universe however he seen fit. He was painting his own universe. And now what we're seeing now is all of us collectively repainting the whole universe. Me, you, Michael, Melissa, people in the chat room, tens other podcasts, everybody right now talking about paradigm shifts, no matter how they are. That's what it's about, man. Paradigm shifts and losing the fear of death. Because I think all fear is a fear of death. Because, if you're scared of height, you're not scared of the height itself. You're scared of falling and hitting the ground. You're not scared of the water itself. You're scared of not being able to surface in time to get a breath, and suffocating underwater. You're not scared of fire. You're scared of being eaten alive by fire. It's and I think all fear is, when you get down to it, it all connects back to a fear of death.
Yeah, I agree.
It
And
really
listen,
is.
listen, psychedelics taught me that you either live in fear or you live in love. My whole life I lived in fear, and then I came to a place where I really lived in a place of love. And I think it not only takes the fear away, but it also breaks the illusion of separation. There isn't, like, listen, Charles is a concept, just like Drew's a concept.
Yeah.
We all are, because we're all lit. And I think that's, listen, on the Netflix documentary or docu-series they just released called How to Change Your Mind. In the first episode, it basically talks about how, LSD had all of these clinical studies that were being done, and it was doing amazing things for AUD, which is alcohol use disorder, and it was doing things for depression, and like, it was truly helping people. And then all of a sudden, when people took LSD, they didn't want to go to war and kill each other anymore. And it was a big problem because Vietnam was happening and Nixon didn't want that. So he signed papers that turned LSD into a Schedule One compound, which means that there's no medicinal use for it, which was a bunch of BS, by the way, because we all know that it does. So I think that's really what is about to change, is that all of the medicinal values of these medicines are going to help break the taboos and stigmas associated with these medicines. And that's also the Trojan horse of what these medicines are really about. And what these medicines are really about, for me personally, is the transformation of humanity to a higher state of consciousness, where we're healing not only trauma, but generational trauma, which is going to change the direction that the entire universe is headed. I actually had a conversation with Dr. Ferber, who's our psychiatrist, yesterday, because we were at an event giving free med cards to veterans that can't afford them. And so we were doing that with our Saturday. But I basically was like, so listen, I was like, if everything is one, which it is, because that's what I've experienced. And just know when I speak about this stuff, this isn't anything I listen to discourses of, or like I speak from firsthand experience. Like I had my burning bush experiences and I needed those because I'm not going to listen and believe anything anybody tells me. I had to see it for myself. And this is what I saw and experienced. I'm not trying to preach it to anybody. I'm not trying to convert you into my belief system. I'm just asking you to play with it and and just be open-minded to the fact that everything we've ever taught was wrong. but but but, but the thing is that
No,
I,
you're on the right. I mean, you know who I am, man. You're on the right channel.
no,
If people
100%, dude. That's why
if
I was really excited about this, because I was like, I can be me tonight.
if people's listening to this right now, there's or in the future, there's a pretty good chance they're on a vibrational frequency, looking looking for the crystalline truth. Looking for, and they've already experienced the divine a lot in most of them, and
Yeah. Well,
yeah, it's I
no,
I love your candidness, how you talk like in the beginning, what brought you into this and how you're open about it. Remind myself a lot of myself, like people need to hear, like, you know i i i, I blew down 8 balls, multiple 8 balls a night back in the day. Like, this is who I am now, like it's not who I was.
no,
I was sharing, and man, it's really weird. I've lived like so many different lives. Like, I found some old files from the military, like from Iraq, and it talks about, it's a non-commissioned officer evaluation report from 2007, and just some of the stuff it talks about in there, things I did. I'm like, man, I should, I almost forgot about I did those things. It's just such a different life. Um, I love how connected me and you has always been when we talk, because I was just about to open up the can of, not a can of worms, maybe a can of worms for some people, but the documentary that just was released, How to Change Your Mind. Um, I'm working on a project now that involves consciousness and psychedelics and everything, that's going to be released soon. And there's just so many other ones out there. I think this is, I've heard it from so many people that, my message of the truth of the divine, and trying to get people to really understand that, it goes way past psychedelics. Psychedelics is only a small part of my message. It's a small part of what I do, but I've been waiting for so long, like not so long, but very, very patiently impatient for years, even before me and you met, like when myself just got started. But now that it's time for my message, and so many people, as it keeps telling me, I keep hearing it from so many people, like it's time for your message to come forward, and like, and really integrate all this stuff, like, the ET contact, mystical experiences, whatever it is, angels, Bigfoot, connecting to source, whatever it is, all this connects into the phenomenon, which is the evolutionary shift of humanity, going to a higher frequency and becoming really a separate species. We're seeing, I think we're seeing right now, our species separate into two different factions, not of political parties or anything, but I think our actual DNA,
vibrations.
I think our DNA makeup is actually going to change, and we're going to separate into the human species is going to separate into two different roads here. And it's all by choice, but it's a lot of trust that goes into it. And I so where do you see this movement going? There's so many stuff coming out on Netflix and Amazon Prime, and like, uh man, I don't know if you're following like the ET thing unfolding, but that's, the government finally admitting, we've been doing this for so long, and all these secret government programs that deal with consciousness, and things I talk about in my show a lot. I guess I got like a pass to talk about some of it, like the brainwashing that goes along with the Pledge of Allegiance and things like that, like them harvesting our manifestation energy to manifest their reality for so long, and now it's coming out, and now we're taking back our power so we can manifest, my self wellness and sacred journeys within, and these books and podcasts and these messages, turning around and giving the message back to the people, which is giving the power back to the people. Where do you see this head, and where do you see this timeline going this year?
This year, I think that there's going to be a lot of a different view on these compounds. I think we're at the entry level right now where, like, when I'm not on this podcast, I'll stick to a lot of the science because, it's like this is how I tell my close friends and staff about it, is like, we need to be able to go in the matrix and blend in and not like get to, like, listen, we all have our experiences, and trust me, man, I've got so many of these profound experiences where it's like the stuff that Rogan talks about and we've talked about, and I know that you know I know that what the masses need to hear is a lot of the science and a lot of the clinical studies, and let's get these compounds pushed through the FDA approvals. I'll say this: I can go to one of my friends who's a cop, right? And I can tell him that we have an FDA approved general or dissociative anesthetic that's the safest, least toxic anesthetic on the market. So safe that they use it on children 1.5 older for surgeries, and that it could help him heal his PTSD. And he might be open to that. Now, if I start telling people that, hey man, I've got mushrooms at my facility, and he's a cop, and I'm like, let's go to the facility, and he's like, what, you want me to take drugs? You know what I'm saying? And it's like, so
Yeah.
it's like, ketamine really is going to open the door for a lot. Listen, we just started our podcast called Psychedelic Radio that's going out through Cannabis Radio, and I want to have you on it really soon here. But the other day, one of the people that I interviewed is an ex-DEA agent who was the chief of police, who was part of a narcotics task force, and he was on our podcast in tears about how psychedelic ketamine therapy saved his life. And now,
That's
and
beautiful.
like he was screaming from the rooftops about it and telling anybody else that's in law enforcement or anything that they should be open-minded to these things. And listen, and that's why I commend you for being so courageous too, man. I know your background. You know what I'm saying? And you're out here just like me. You're screaming from the rooftops. And see, and we need more voices like yours. And that's actually why I just launched our nonprofit called the Warriors of Consciousness. And what I'm doing is, this isn't just like I'm raising money to support people that can't afford psychedelic ketamine therapy. And we already do donate treatments to veterans that can't afford them sometimes, or people that have some recovery under their belt that are having a hard time and they're white knuckling it. But like, everybody needs access to this medicine, because I know that we're all one. The guy who's on the side of the street holding a sign looking for his next meal that needs these treatments needs access to it just as much as the soccer mom who can afford the treatments can pay for it. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? So, but this isn't just to raise money for psychedelic ketamine therapy. This is a movement I'm creating, man. And so, like, I'm putting an army of people together, just like, so like, I want you to be a part of it, man. And I'm focusing on getting people that are professionals, or people that have service backgrounds or law enforcement or whatever it is, that have healed through psychedelic medicines. And the thing is that, listen, my story is great and it reaches a certain demographic of people that are suffering from a number of things that I suffered from. But what we also need is more law enforcement, more veterans, more people that are professionals to get together as the warriors of this whole psychedelic renaissance that's underway, and scream from the rooftops that these medicines saved our lives, because people will listen then. People are going to take that message seriously, and that's really what we need to focus on. So like, if you're out there and you're listening to this, and psychedelic medicines have had a profound healing effect in your life, and they've taken you out of a deep dark place when nothing else could, I urge you to share that with the world. I urge you to be courageous about it and not hide it like it's something to be ashamed of, but something that you should be proud of. Because what our purpose, or what I know my purpose is in this timeline, is to, I got pulled out of the flames that I was once in through psychedelic medicines and all of these other healing modalities that I used in my personal life. But now it's my purpose to go back into the flames and help pull other people out. And see, we're not going to do that by being quiet. That's not how it works. We need to wear this on our sleeve like it's a badge of honor, and let people know that we are a warrior. Because if you've gone through any kind of psychedelic healing or therapy, it's not all roses and rainbows, man. Like, this is some deep work. I have people that come into the facility, and they have an experience that might not be the most pleasant, but it was something they really needed to go through to get to where they're going. And I'm like, it's another layer of the onion that had to be peeled away until you can get to the core of who you truly are. And the answer of all that is love. We're all love. We
Man,
just need to go
man,
back.
people don't get when the veil goes down. All that the veil shows them is what's on the other side of them. Like, and yeah, when that understanding hits, it's we've had a lot of people come out here, and they're searching, especially people who come to ayahuasca or changa, or these the master medicines. Some of them come for, like, they're like, oh, I'm gonna see something crazy, get the truth. And what they find is the truth is right here and now. Like, there is no other truth. This is the most divine truth. we're living we're living through a divine magical moment in our storyline. And i think that I think that we all decided to do this. I think that when we were a kid, like, I remember, I didn't go to church a lot, but went to Sunday school a few times. But in particular, and it's funny because I just recently cut my hair, but I particularly remember the story of Samson. Had long hair. He was shackled to the two pillars, and he broke them. But then they cut his hair, and he lost his strength and all this stuff. Well, and that and Spider-Man and things like that had my imagination going when I was a kid. And I remember thinking as a kid, what would it be like to be alive, or what would it be like, to be one of these things or something like that. And I think every one of us in some way, form, or fashion has had that thought. And that's why we're here in this moment right now. I really do. I think that because it's all, free will is a son of a bitch, and it dictates our life, and it's a son of a bitch if you allow it. It can be really useful if you figure out how to work with it. But free will, you have to decide to be here. And when people say, oh, you went through, you decided you'd be here before you come here incarnated, this, that, and the other. Who knows? I don't know about all that. All I know is I've had visions. A lot of them seem very real, but the only thing that is really real is, like, when I hold my son, when I'm in ceremony, in the physical, talking about ceremony afterwards. This is this is the real ceremony here, like that we're in right now. Like,
Be
we're
here
here.
now,
We're
man. Be here
we're
now.
here.
Ramdas.
We're here in the breathing moment. And now that all these things that the Native American elders told me for years, going through all this stuff, is now I'm starting to figure out all the what it really is. It said, figure out your breath. Your breath is sacred.
Yeah.
Okay, breath is sacred. Thanks, Grandma. I go back into ceremony. But now, like, and knowing, like, now, like, how sacred a breath is in the moment, how how sacred every moment is, how everything that you see is sacred. And talking about the oneness. And uh I go through this conversation all the time. ET is a big part of the conversation on this podcast a lot. And the conversation about a higher dimensional negative ET race. And I just don't understand how it could happen, because I know we're at the prefaces, not just me, but the human race is at the prefaces of understanding oneness while being manifested in a physical form. So they're going to be connected to source, connected to oneness while in physical form. If you understand you're looking at yourself moving forward, how could any negative aspect be a part of my existence moving forward?
Well, man, so like, so I talk about this stuff with Dr. Ferber a lot, and his wife too, Carolyn. And the thing is like, good and bad are just a concept. You know what I'm saying? So like, listen, like, this is the synchronistic flow of the evolution of consciousness, man. That even the
I
dark,
believe it. I
hey,
believe it
hey,
100%.
even the dark is divine because we're all one. So like, because something might appear to be negative or bad at a certain time, it's most likely, or what I believe to be, triggering something that might be looked as positive. You know, Eckhart Tolle said it, and it's not just him. I've been a strong believer of this in a long time, but like, awakening happens through suffering. So it's like,
Mhm.
as cliche as it sounds, you know, it's like, without a dark day or without a dark night, you wouldn't see the stars, kind of thing. Well, it's like, listen, you know, so I got in trouble years ago, right? And I got arrested for, you know, substance abuse stuff. And I'm really good friends with my arresting officer now. And he came up to me, and his name's Frank. We were at the gym and we were hanging out, and he's just like, you know, Charles, he's like, look at how much you've accomplished in such a short period of time in your life. He's like, doesn't it suck that you went through all of those years of, you know, drug use and alcohol and da 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 da. And he's like, don't you wish you wouldn't have done that? And like imagine where you'd be at now. And I'm like, nah, bro, listen. I'm like, that's what made me. I'm like, I had to go through everything I went through to get to where I'm at now. I might not have realized it at the time and been in that, oh, I'm a victim, poor me scenario. But the truth is that I went through all of that so I can help people now. And I love that. I wouldn't trade 1 second of that misery, because it truly awakened me and it molded me into the man that I am today. And I feel blessed that I know what my purpose is, and that I know I can have the ability to help so many people that are suffering from a huge spectrum of different things, because I suffered from all of them myself. So it's like, it all served its purpose.
But
Everything was fine.
you could see the mirror aspect, and for people, I think what a lot of our mission now, obviously, I'm always healing, I'm always healing myself. I'm always uh, you know, keeping that balance centered, so I can keep my connection and keep myself centered. But honestly, yeah, I forgot where I was going with that. But I do want I do want to go back and say that um because I've talked about this before. When ayahuasca, like my third ceremony, I went in and had the intention of asking ayahuasca what my mission was in this life, why I'm here, and it showed me like all the stuff I'm doing now. I'm like, nah, fuck that. Like, ain't no way. Like, you don't know me, man. Like, you must not. You may see all and know all, but obviously you didn't see like my drug use. You didn't see my, my mindset, my rage. You didn't see my things I did in Iraq. Like, you didn't see all that. And it's like, do you think what if one of those things was missing? You think you would have met ayahuasca if one of those things was missing?
Yeah.
One of those suicide attempts, or one of those rage moments, or one of those what was considered at the moment a fuck up, you know? Like I've been arrested before. I was like underage consumption, things like that.
Yeah.
Luckily, not ever caught for anything, significant. But that was, a conversation I had with ayahuasca, and it showed me everything I did up until that point was all part of the process, and I guess it's also a mindset. You have to look at the universe from a broader perspective and look at what you did, or I use myself for example for this conversation. Things that I did mostly affected me, you know yes, some of the things affected my family, my kids, my ex-wife, this, that, and the other. But the victim, that the biggest victim out of all of it was myself. My own choices was myself. So, you know, it's all myself. So it's just funny, I love I love how this discussion always rolls around like for the negative and positive and just rolls all into one.
Well, man,
Another
so here's the thing. What I was going to touch on earlier, where I got off track, was I was talking to Dr. Ferber yesterday about the oneness of everything, and how if we're living in a state of duality, meaning like, and that everything is one, the duality would probably go back to generational trauma and depression and PTSD and all of these things, because
Mhm.
that's the part of the collective that's suffering. You know what I'm saying? And so I looked at him and I'm like, so listen, man. I'm like, let's just say in a hypothetical situation that psychedelic compounds were going to heal all of this stuff, and that it was going to basically, you know, take that part of the collective and heal that generational trauma and the PTSD and all of that stuff. I go, so then the key to life, the truth of it all, once you've had these awakening experiences, is to live in a state of non-duality. And that's what I try to do with my life in a daily practice. I live in a place of love, and I'm not going to say that I'm like, walking on water and I'm perfect at it all the time, but I do my best, and I do my best by staying in love and trying to be in a meditative state and watching things rather than thinking that I'm somehow making things happen. That would be my ego, right? And so the thing is that if we did heal that part of the collective, the oneness, then that would be how we would shift to a higher state of consciousness and live in a place of non-duality. Whether you'd like to refer to it as a state of being in 5D, or this heaven on earth scenario, like, I'm crazy enough to think that we can accomplish that. And the truth is that if we are all the divine, which I have witnessed in my own personal journey that we are, then any kind of limitations that we try to place on ourselves are just something that the 3D matrix has programmed us to think. We are limitless beings. We can do anything we want. We truly can. I mean, am I telling you to go out and jump off your roof and think you can fly? No, that's not what I'm telling you to do. But what I am trying to say is that we can manifest anything that we want. We have the ability to do so. And the only thing that limits us from doing that is that F word that we were talking about, fear, living in a place of fear. And this is why these psychedelic compounds are such an important part of the way that this direction of things are heading. Because if I'm not living in a state of fear and I'm living in a state of love, that gives me the ability to manifest relentlessly and fearlessly. And the only thing, like psychedelics, not the only, one of the most important things that psychedelic compounds taught me is that the proverbial box that society gets us to fit in, it doesn't exist. It's a bunch of BS. And the fact is that there is no box. It doesn't exist. And so we can literally do anything that we want to. We can manifest anything that we want to. We have to be mindful about the what we speak, though, because we speak things into existence. So make sure that you keep on saying things properly, like, I am going to do this, not I'm going to try to do this, because the universe doesn't listen to not sure manifestations. You've got to come from a place of gratitude, raise your vibration, tap into those higher frequencies, and you can literally manifest anything you want. Like, this isn't just something I think to be true. I've watched it happen in my daily life. And I truly believe that once people realize how powerful that we are, it's going to change the narrative of the way that things are going right now in an incredibly different direction. Because once you realize that you don't have anything to fear, and that there is no such thing as death, and that we can manifest anything that we want, it really just kind of takes away any kind of barriers that have been placed on you up to this point.
Yeah, so let's talk about the I am. What's that word combination? I've come to learn there's a encoded power in that. The I am, and so is everything around me. That meditation is something that I share with people that come out here to ceremony with us. Um, and doing that in conjunction with the sun, the morning sunrise when the sun first breaks. So what is the power like? Did ketamine tell you about the I am, or where did the I am come from?
So the truth is, man, is like, okay, so like watch The Secret. Watch The Secret about the laws of attraction. I think what people don't realize, because this is about manifesting, okay? But the thing is that I think that people forget the most important law. And the law is that you're not going to manifest anything unless you're at a high vibrational frequency. So it's like, oh, I try to do this in my life, and I watch The Secret, and I'm manifesting things, but they're not manifesting for me. It's like, well, you have to be living by spiritual guidelines, and you have to keep your vibration high. You're not going to vibrate, or you're not going to manifest things if you're in a low vibrational place and you're in a victim mentality, or if you have resentments towards people, or you think you're in sort of competition with other people. Listen, the thing is that there are no other people. It's all one. So the truth is that if you're jealous because of somebody else's accomplishments, you're blocking your own manifestations, because we're all a mirror of ourselves. I am is it. That's the bottom line. I am. Anything after I am is a concept, meaning that we're all it. So like Deepak Chopra, for instance, on one of his Facebook pages, I kept seeing him post, I am this and I am that. And there would always be a statement after the I am. That's a concept. Anything you conceptualize after I am separates it from what is actually the truth. So it just means I am is everything. It's me. I am the I am, and so are you, except there is no me and you, because we are just concepts. So the truth is that once you really take that into consideration and know that there's no competition, everything has to come from a place of love, and that this is basically, this is, in my eyes, and like, I guess this is a concept, but this is basically just like a training camp. It's like the synchronistic training to go back to being I am. And I know that I am is the most powerful statement in the universe. Okay. So basically, anything I say after I am, I do become. And so like that's why like Alcoholics Anonymous really kind of got under my skin for a while, because always everybody starts off the meeting and they're like, hey, I'm Dave and I am an alcoholic. And it's like, well, you've already just placed that label on yourself. Now you're damaged and broken in some sort of viewpoint, or like I have a disease of alcoholism. And no, it's like you have underlying trauma that you're self-medicating. Like I am Charles, and like, or no, well, that's just a concept. But like, but like, I'm not an alcoholic and an addict anymore. And it's because I've got to the underlying issues of what I was self-medicating to begin with. But always make sure that anything you say after I am is something that you're willing to become, because that's exactly what's going to happen. So with manifestations, write down, I am going to do this. I am going to do that. There's something very magical about putting a pen to paper and writing that stuff down, but then speak it out into existence and know that when you're speaking it, it's actually happening. And that by the time you spoke it, it's already happened. Now we just stay in a place of gratitude and be patient until the universe perfectly, divinely places it into our life, because everything is perfect. Always remember, this isn't on Charles's timeline. This is on the universe's timeline, because everything is perfect. So we just sit, stay in a place of gratitude, and watch the movie unfold. I always gave this speech to people before they were going into their ketamine treatments, right? And it's basically like, listen, having anxiety going into this is perfectly normal. It's the fear of the unknown. That being said, I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised. Once the medicine starts to take effect, you're going to feel very euphoric and calm and relaxed. That's when you close your eyes, relax, pretend like you're going to take a nap, and watch everything play out. The more I think about things, the more I'm fighting the actual spirit experience from happening. And it dawned on me, I was talking about life, meaning Charles isn't in control. Charles is just a concept. Charles is the watcher doing the watching of the movie or the dream of life play out. So the more that my ego makes me feel like I'm controlling something that's happening, the more I'm fighting my manifestations from actually coming to fruition. Because me thinking I'm doing anything is me being in my ego.
It's very, man, you couldn't say it any better myself, man. It's the when we understand. I talk. I've been speaking a lot about my youngest son just being born hawk, and he just turned 6 months on the 11th. So But he's comes in the podcast. He comes up in the conversation a lot on this podcast because he taught me the science behind manifestation. You know, he taught me what I was missing in my equation. I was missing the gratitude part, and I was missing the being in the moment part. He's taught me both those things, and he's only just a few days over 6 months old, and he's taught me two of the biggest spiritual lessons I've ever learned throughout my whole journey. And I've had a lot of I've had a lot of epiphanies, and to have a baby that can't even talk teach me these things is just amazing. You know, just it, I really understood just obvious stuff. You know, the having our manifestation energy. If I'm thinking about, you know, Iraq, or if I'm thinking about even the last ceremony or the last people that was here, or if I'm thinking about the people like a retreat in the future, or a project that I'm working on, or I'm gonna talk to someone tomorrow, my manifestation energy goes to that thought, or the past, the past or the future, the past or the future, and he makes me stay in the moment. And now, and in deep gratitude, I'm in gratitude every breath, like, especially how he was born, everything that he went through when his first couple weeks of life and everything, how scary it was. It just makes me in gratitude even more for him. And yeah, he's taught me the real science behind it. And I was teaching people. I was starting to learn and starting to share with people about telekinesis before I learned this. And he taught me manifestation. Just amazing. And how simple it is. But it's I assume, the ketamine is probably pretty similar to most others, psychedelic ceremonies. There's anxiety at first,
Yep.
and then you go into it, and once you overcome that and release and trust and surrender into it, that's when it happens. I'm assuming it happens kind of like that.
Let go is the way, man. You just
Yeah.
gotta surrender to the medicine and let it do its thing.
But
And
that's life. That's
yes,
life.
yes,
These are life lessons. This is not a. That's what people. That's what, man. I try to drill it in people's heads. These ceremonies, people come out here for ayahuasca ceremonies and spend a weekend out here, and they start getting sad. Like, after they get done with the second ceremony, we got post ceremony integration. Like, I see the look on people's faces. Like, how am I going to take this with me? How do I carry it? You decide to take it with you. You decide to integrate that truth into this reality. The truth that you saw in the moment, bring into the reality, and make your reality the moment you just saw. You know, change
and
your
the
perception.
and the thing is, man, is like when you're having these kind of epiphanies and you start implementing these practices into your life, there's going to be Mr. Smith moments. You're gonna get attacked by the Matrix, man. Like it's literally like it will try to lower your vibration. It's gonna test you. This is like when you start talking about oneness or the extension of the divine kind of conversations, and you get like a verbal reaction that's like an attack on you. And the truth is that I don't need to like this is where when I used to do that stuff a lot, it was my ego. It was my ego saying, "Aha, man, I had these spiritual experiences and I know something now, and now I'm going to teach you about it." The truth is, man, is that we don't need to teach anybody about anything. It's an energetic communion. So if like Ram Dass said, all I can do is work on me, and all you can do is work on you. And the truth is that when we get out of our ego and think that we're actually going to teach people something, they'll energetically be attracted to us, and they'll see that we are living a high vibrational life. It'll look appealing. It'll be something that they probably want in their own life. And when they ask and they come and say, what are you doing to get to where you're at mentally? I need that in my life. That's when you share it with people. because that's not ego. They're seeking the knowledge. It's not like me being like, oh man, I got this all figured out. Because listen, man, anytime we ever think we've got everything all figured out, anyway, the universe is just gonna humble the crap out of us. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, like listen, like, you know, it's like all I know is like Charles is nothing and I am everything.
Yeah,
But
like when the drive shaft drops out of your vehicle going down the mountain when you're going to a conference. You know, that happened. For those that don't know, that just happened to me over the weekend. On Saturday, like we left a day early. I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna leave a day early. We're gonna go check out a different conference, the MUFON Symposium that was in Denver. So we're gonna check that out on Saturday. I was speaking on Sunday. Yeah, and coming down out of the mountain about 15 miles outside Denver, drive shaft breaks, and um, right, we pull over on the side of the road, bro. Check this out. We pull over on the side of the road. I get out and I look underneath, drive shaft's like on the ground, you know, disconnected from the rear axle. Just like, man, that's not good, you know. I start walking around the truck, you know, being human for a minute, cussing at the mountains and cussing at, you know, just expressing myself. And I'm walking around the vehicle. I look down like right beside the passenger car door of the car, my truck, and there's a huge piece of petrified wood. It's like 10 pounds of petrified wood. I was like, okay, well, this obviously has to go with me, you know.
yeah.
Like it's part of this. It's part of this whole thing. And I get back in the truck, and I'm just like, okay, I got to call these people and tell them I'm not going to come to the conference tomorrow. And my wife's in the back. I'm like, hey, babe, how far are we away from Golden, where this conference is supposed to take place at, you know, on Sunday? And she's like, oh, we're like 19 miles from it. And I was like, okay, well, call them and tell them, like, call the hotel and tell them we're gonna come tonight instead of tomorrow night. Like, we're gonna do 2 nights instead of one night, you know. And I decided right then, I was like, okay, like, I know if I'm having this pushback, I know that I'm supposed to go speak at this conference, you know.
Yeah.
And for, you know, I just trust in it, you know, and it sees, and I'm sure you go through this a lot, man. A lot of the things that you say to people, you probably play back and you're like, man, I was talking to myself right there. Like, uh,
Man, that's when you're really starting to reach that higher level of understanding. Okay. It's like I'm literally like I'll be having these conversations with people and I'll be telling them something about like is like, you know, this is what's going on in my life and I'll give you my interpretation and then like right when I'm about to be finished what I'm saying and I'm like, and everything that I just said to you is something that I needed to learn right now. I needed to hear that too. The truth, man. Listen, it's because of the oneness and the mirror effect. So like I'm a mirror of you. So if I see something in you that annoys me or something like that, it's most likely something I need to work on in myself. It like is. And like so like with your car that happening, every time that something amazing is about to happen on our journey, you get thrown a curveball. It's the universe's way of saying, are you ready to level up? You know? And the truth is like, that's when we need to keep our vibration the highest and realize that no matter what, even if we don't understand it at that moment, everything is divine and everything's happening exactly the way that it's supposed to happen. You know, one of the ways that I get through my days that I stay sane sometimes when I get thrown these curveballs is going back to the absolute. We are one. I am everything. Okay. And see, if I didn't actually have those experiences, it would be much harder for me in life because people identify as, you know, like with the body, with the mind, like, you know, like I am Charles, I am 39 years old. And, you know, it's all just a concept. And so like knowing that we're all just it and that everything is, that means that there are no mistakes. It's the synchronistic flow. And the object is to not get in the flow. The object is to be the flow. And so you just keep on rolling with it. You just keep on rolling with it. It's like I met a buddy of mine who's like, you know, he's ex-Secret Service and he's highly into, you know, psychedelic healing. And the way that I met him, I'm driving down the road and I turned into a parking lot. And it like wasn't even me turning into the parking lot. I don't know why I turned into it. And my fiance, Christina, she looks at me and she's like, why did you just turn in here? And I'm like, I didn't. I'm like, I don't know what just happened. And I said, but you know what? The amount of time that it takes me to drive through this parking lot right now, I'm going to either see somebody I used to know, or I'm going to meet somebody that's going to play an intricate role in the journey that we're on. And sure enough, we go to the car wash that day, and I walk in, and like I get triggers, like I get signs when I'm supposed to meet somebody. It's a vibrational thing. Like you were talking about the day when we first met. My body starts vibrating. My pineal gland starts flickering in my head. It's like it's like my antennas going off, and I look over and I'm vibrating so hard, like I can almost barely contain myself. And I look over and there's this guy, and he's got all kinds of tattoos that are very symbolic to me, like Eye of Horus, and just like every sacred geometry all over the place and everything. And I like walk over to him and I'm like vibrating. And this was like one of the first times it really happened to me at this level. And I'm like, hey, man, I'm like, I think I'm supposed to meet you. And he's just like looking at me like this. And I'm just like, listen, I'm just going to tell you what's going on in my life. And, let me know if it resonates with you. And I told him about the psychedelic therapy center. And he's like, yeah, we're supposed to be talking because I'm totally into all of this stuff. And we've actually become really good friends. And, like a lot of things, cool things have happened in the midst of everything but
Mhm.
like, the truth is he told me, he's like, I wasn't even supposed to be here today, man. He's like, I go to a completely different car wash to get my car done. He's like, something just ended me up here today. And if I wouldn't have drove through that parking lot and wasted the 2 minutes that I wasted that day, I wouldn't have bumped into him at exactly the right time. So
Mhm.
always remember that everything's in divine order, and that it might not make sense when it's actually happening, but everything will play itself out and everything will end up presenting itself at the right time. Listen, everything is a blessing or a lesson in life. If you take things like that, and sometimes it's both a blessing and a lesson. But the truth is,
Most of the time, always.
yeah, there you go. And that's the
Yeah.
truth. But the thing is that observe the lesson, hold on to it. It's okay to reflect on the lesson, but don't get stuck in that moment, because it was all just synchronistically the evolution of something that you were supposed to learn, so you don't repeat that same lesson over and over again. And like, don't get, there's an old saying in AA, right? And it says, I got one foot in yesterday, I got one foot in tomorrow, and I'm pissing on today. It's the truth, man. So it's like, reflect on the stuff in the past, but like, don't worry about tomorrow, because the only way that you should be worried about the future is when you're manifesting. Have a 5-year plan in your head. Okay, like, this is my goal. This is where I want to be in 5 years. And then I'm going to make a list of things that are going to help manifest me in that direction, or I'm going to manifest it's going to help propel me in that direction. Make like a daily list of a few things, and that those few things that you do every day should be pushing you in the direction to make that 5-year plan come true. But the truth is that if I am in my head thinking that I have something figured out, like Charles has got it all figured out, and this is going to happen, and like I know that I'm thinking about it and I'm playing it out, and I'm sure something's going to happen a certain way, the universe will throw you a curveball and make it happen completely different, just because your ego thought you had it all figured out. So just
Mhm.
realize that, like, one of the best things is like, stay in the moment, stay in your breath, and know that I really don't know.
Yeah.
As crazy as that sounds.
No, no shit, man. Like, you know, I had this idea going to the conference. I had this like thought, like this visualization in my head. I like, okay, there's gonna be like at least 10 people, and this, that, and the other, and get there, and like the numbers were a lot lower than I expected, and I got bummed about it for a little bit, but I was thinking, okay, like whatever, like I'm just gonna look. I'm gonna pay attention to everybody that's in this process. Like I'm gonna pay attention to the person that I'm checking in at the hotel. I'm gonna pay attention to the person talking to me. There's a guy talking to us that stayed at the hotel that was in the place. Uh, we were in Golden like 5 days. Get our vehicle fit, getting the money together to get our vehicle fixed, and waiting for it to get fixed and all this stuff. So we are Ubering. We were walking a lot of places, but we are also Ubering. It was like super hot, so there's times when we would just Uber like to the grocery store or something, and come back to the hotel. I was talking to the Uber drivers, and every single one of them want to know about ayahuasca, want to know about ETs, want to know about, because the conversation, oh, what are you doing in town? Well, we broke down. I come to do a conference, promote my books, and, talking to, what's your books about? Consciousness. And I more specific. I got to the point of saying, okay, I'm like I'm a representation of ayahuasca. You're a representation of ketamine in the physical form. You're a voice for it. You're a voice for the medicine they can't really speak in the verbal.
Yeah.
So I started to realize I was like, okay, like I am in the form of ayahuasca now. To people don't even see me, like they just see ayahuasca like straight out, and it just everyone that we talk to, and we're exchanging numbers and exchanging emails and connection. There could some of them might even be listening to the podcast right now that I spoke to so many different people through the whole process, and every single one of them needed to have the interaction with me, and just as well as I needed to have the interaction with them, because they were filling the seats in the conference that I was missing, and making it worth my saying, okay, I didn't go just to see a couple people at the conference. I spent 5 days here. So I saw 20 or 30 different people, and getting an intimate moments with them, 5 minute car ride, 10 minute car ride or whatever. That is what they needed at that moment. And I got my hair. I went to get my hair trimmed. I was like, it was at the grocery store. I was like, I need my hair trimmed. I was like, I just had dreads, but now I want to have it. I want to have it neat all the time now again.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, there's a Great Clips, a couple doors down from the grocery store we was at. I was like, hey, babe, let's walk down here. I'm gonna get my hair trimmed real quick. Walk in. There was no wait, and the lady trimming my hair got to talking. She's like, she's like this probably like 50-year-old Mexican lady, and I'm just like, okay, me and her are probably not gonna connect. She starts cutting my hair, and she's like, what are you in town for? Blah blah blah, my book, and she's like, I've astral projected before, and the conversation just, poof, just goes out. There's a guy waiting. I'm sitting there and talking to this lady as I'm checking out. There's a guy waiting to get his hair cut. He's like, wait, did you say something about ayahuasca? He's like, man, I'm having a real hard time right now figuring out reality. He's like, I've been looking at ayahuasca. He's like, it's crazy you're right here, and I'm like, it's not that crazy. Like it's it
No,
is it
no.
is crazy, but
And the thing is, man, is like, so like the turnout might have not been what you wanted it or expected it to be or thought it might be. But see, the thing is, man, it only takes that one person, man. It
only
only
one.
takes one person. Like I just went to a conference in Miami, and I thought there was going to be a ton of people there. And I mean, there was a decent amount of people there, but like I really thought that I was going to be able to network and make a ton of connections. And the thing is that in life, what we really just have to do is show up. If you just show up, the universe does the rest. And so, like, because there wasn't a ton of people there, I met one of the doctors from Johns Hopkins, that's John Hopkins University, that's doing the clinical research with psychedelic compounds on different things that they're using to do clinical studies and everything. And so I linked up with him after I gave him my business card after he got done speaking at this event, right? And then I went to the after party thing that night, and he was sitting at a table by himself. And like, like this, normally this guy would have had a million people talking to him. I would have never had access to him. But because there wasn't that many people there, I walked over to the table. I said, hey, what's going on, man? You mind if I grab a chair? And I got to sit down and have an hour-long conversation with him. You know what I'm saying? And it was just like amazing, like to find a doctor that's doing clinical research on psychedelic compounds that literally like believes a lot of the stuff that I believe and what these compounds are doing and they're capable of for people. And a ton of the clinical research that's about to come out in 2023 about these compounds, and you'll love this, is going to show that macrodosing is more effective for long-term healing than microdosing, and that the spiritual component of the medicines is what's really allowing people to heal. And and there's a lot of people out here that are trying to make compounds that take the psychedelic trip out of these compounds and this and that. And I'm just like, that's almost like sacrilege at the end of the day for me. It's like, why would you want to take the spiritual component out of a medicine that's causing spiritual healing? Because that's what people need. And so, but all of the clinical research that's coming out in 2023 is going to show all of this. And it's coming from like the most reputable college on the planet. So it's pretty exciting stuff, man. But like I was saying, it's just one person. And then that person could link you up to 10 other right people. And then those 10 people, it's that spider web effect that happens just because you went and did that one thing. And even so, let's never let our egos get in our way either. Like, okay, so I got invited to speak at an event because I do public speaking too, right? And the thing is that like, oh, I don't think it's going to be that big of a turnout. I'm going to blow this off. Well, the truth is, man, is that there could have been that one person that was in that audience that you needed to connect with that might have been a multi-billionaire and wanted to invest into your company or whatever and propel things forward and out into the universe for you, but your ego blocked you from letting it happen. So like it's always, this one thing I do preach is like, it's okay to be confident. There's nothing wrong with confidence. That's knowing your worth and knowing what you bring to the table, but do it in the most humble way. And there's a complete difference between arrogance and confidence. And arrogance stems from insecurity because you just are, it all plays itself out. So, always remember that there is no hierarchy. Nobody's better than anybody. Just be present, be the flow, and just keep on going, and everything will synchronistically fall into place.
Mm-hmm. So, I love all of it, man. It sounds like it's weird talking to you. It's like definitely a mirror experience for sure on a different level. Because I hear, the hierarchy thing. That's something I preach all the time. Like there's some really profound truths that I got shown in my oneness moment. That was really outside of psychedelics. Like my most profound oneness moment had nothing to do with psychedelics. It was just a moment that was really profound. But let's I want to talk. I want to get into Egypt. We got a little over 20 minutes left.
Yeah.
What is and I'm gonna have to have you back on again soon, man. We're gonna have to. There's too much going on right now, especially with everything moving forward. With psychedelics becoming more mainstream, and I want to maybe get in future episodes and get in to talk about what it was like we can maybe touch on it a little bit right now, but what it was like to jump on the wave before anyone else was jumping on the wave. I know what it's like. There was other people on the wave, but there wasn't a whole lot of people there when I
We're
jumped on
lonely out here, man.
it. And now like seeing, I've been riding this wave for a couple of years, and now, it's like it's funny how indoctrinated we are. Even in the psychedelic renaissance, we still look back to the government for validity on people, on veterans, and speaking to XDEA and things like that, and the conversation a lot with in the UFO community is people in the intelligence community, people in the military, this, that, and the other. But it's like they worked, people may trust me a little more because I'm a veteran. I held a secret security clearance when I was in the military, did two deployments. Last stuff I did, I can just now start talking about some of it because Iraq's over with, but some of it I couldn't even talk about it up until a few years ago, and how indoctrinated are we for us to even hear like the enlightenment message or UFO message? Like you have to have these nomenclatures of prior service for us to have more validity. It just goes to prove more and more how indoctrinated and how ingrained we are. Even in this movement, we have to go back and listen to, okay, this is what we trusted in the 3D. now to get out of the 3D, we have to try. We're still looking at the same criteria. It's just a funny paradigm, that we are caught in.
Yeah. Nah, man, like, listen, like, I know all of it's just labels. Me personally, I don't care what anybody's labels are or what they wear or, any of that
Mhm.
kind of stuff, what they did for a living. The truth is because like I know that we're all one, but at the end of the day, most people don't. and, and so like, like we've got to be able to go back into the matrix and play the rule by the rules in order to
Mhm.
actually make a tangible change. Because, it's like, listen, if people take veterans and law enforcement and all these people seriously, well, then those are the ones that we've got to get out here screaming the messages. It doesn't
Mhm.
mean that the message isn't the same from everybody else that's screaming it out there.
For sure.
It's just the way of the world right now, and hopefully like things won't be like that. Listen, man, like when it comes to this whole movement, or the disclosure that just happened about all this stuff, it's like, listen, I think it's a big win in general, but I think that, I mean, like at the end of the day, it was kind of a joke. It's like of course we've known about all this stuff for a really long time, and it goes way deeper than anything they even scratched the surface on.
Oh
In
God. I
you
mean,
know,
if you are you talking about the UFO hearing?
yeah,
So yeah, like when they were speaking, how many times did they say has to be referred to the private session? This has to be referred to the private session.
yeah,
One thing I did hear, I need to replay that whole thing. It's on. By the way, if people are listening, haven't heard the Congress UFO hearing, it's on my YouTube page. Go and check it out. It's I got the whole thing on there. But I believe they did utter the word dimensional space at one point in the UFO hearing, which I was really taken back by. Like, okay, you're going to admit that we had 11 misses of crafts flying past each other in the sky, this, that, and the other. But when they said dimensional spaces, now they're starting to now that's them open up the envelope that's going to unravel the whole government itself. Like, I really believe like this knowledge and brings true sovereignty, the losing the understanding of the I am, the oneness, and consciousness, and all this. This is true sovereignty, because like what I was saying earlier, I was a victim of the brainwashing from an early age. I had someone from Canada that was on the podcast a while back, and I asked him what his offline. I asked him what his thoughts of the Pledge of Allegiance was, and this is around the 4th of July. This is like a week or so ago. I was like, "What's people in Canada think about the Pledge of Allegiance?" He's like, "If I wasn't from Canada, if I was from another country, and the U.S. was taken out, and the country prefaces behind the Pledge of Allegiance was taken out, it would sound like you're pledging allegiance to a cult. Like it really would." And I mean, Canada has their own thing, so it's hard for him to really, the Canada, so it's hard for him to really separate himself. But he's like, yeah, if I didn't know it was from the U.S. and just hearing it, it would sound like you was pledging allegiance to a cult. Like,
yeah.
serious.
Well, hey, man, like when it comes to this disclosure that just happened or whatever, or the hearing that was held, like think of like Eric von Daniken. Like, I mean, with the chariots of the gods, it's like this stuff has been around forever.
Ever.
So the truth is that like for anybody to think that we're just starting to learn and disclose something or whatever, it's like this stuff's been happening for thousands of years.
Cycles,
Like like
cycles.
like let's put it this way, like we're a direct result of it. Like, I mean, come on, like, it's like we're not probably running the show here. um I like, but
We, we, we are, but we're not. That's the paradigm of it.
there you go. I mean,
We're
and listen,
we're
this is
we're
coming
caught in
back
the
into
middle of it.
this is coming away from the absolute and getting back into the movie of the collective mind or the story or the dream or whatever. But like, listen, like you look at these paintings that are in caves from 50,000 years ago where people are doing plant medicine ceremonies, and listen, I'm a huge believer that this is the way that we've tapped into a lot of this stuff throughout the for the centuries, is that I believe that everything's all unfolding and happening at different frequencies, different densities. And so the thing is that when we, in different vibrations. So like when we raise our vibration and we raise our frequency and we open up that antenna, which is our pineal gland, we can tune and tap into different frequencies and different dimensions. And that's where having people are having these profound, ET experiences a lot of the time. Big shout out to Rick Strassman, because he did the first clinical studies with DMT at the University of New Mexico. But one of the reasons that he shut the thing down was because everybody was having ET experiences and he didn't know how to explain it to people. So like, it's like, hey man, you want to come do a clinical study with the psychedelic compound? And like, oh yeah, by the way, you might end up on a spaceship. Yeah. But like, it's legit. This is real deal. This is like not just in his clinical study. People are having these experiences all around the world. Joe Rogan talks about it, and
Mhm.
so it's like, and all of the legends. And listen, I love where the psychedelic movement is going right now, but like, I'm a kind of a little bit saddened by the fact that all of the true pioneers in this field are getting slept on, like the Rick Strassmans and the Dennis McKennas and the Graham Hancocks and like all of the OGs, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, these guys have been doing this for decades, and like, everybody thinks that psychedelic research is just something now that's coming out and it's so exciting to be, it's so exciting that it's this brand new field. It's like, no, it's not. It's
No,
like,
I think that this documentary we spoke about earlier, "Change Your Minds" on Netflix,
how to
talks
change your
about,
mind. Yeah.
yeah, how to change your mind. Talks directly about how it's been going on since, I think, 1938, and this is just known, like trials, like with psychedelics, and more importantly, consciousness, like consciousness and psychedelics has been trying to dissect, and people trying to figure it out for a long time. I've said it for years now. The scientists will never understand what psychedelics or consciousness is until they stop putting all their findings in a linear timeline frame of thought. They need to dissolve that thought process to even try to understand what this is. That's one of the biggest things that they have to let go of, is that time is a relatively young construction. It's not very old. It's only a couple hundred years old. Time, like, and time as we see it, as time's always been there in different forms, just as just like life is. But um,
So check
that
this out, man. If we're talking about vibrations and frequencies, right? And like, this is where I believe like that, if that these higher dimensional beings are at these higher vibrational frequencies, guess what? So psychedelics is about the transformation of humanity, tapping into a higher state of consciousness. But since it's also about raising the collective vibration, how do you think that things are going to start to appear more to us when we get to a higher vibrational state as a collective by healing through these modalities? There's going
I,
to
I,
be
t-
more and more disclosure, because we're going to be collectively going to a higher vibrational frequency and like
I
a
talk
higher. Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
I talk about it all the time. Ayahuasca was my paradigm shift. ET didn't come till afterwards. Not that I can remember. I probably had experiences, but nothing that I could equate has any validity to it or anything like that. But definitely afterwards. That's when I had face to face encounters and seen ships and all kinds of stuff. But we talk about these laws of the spiritual world, that everything's happening right here and now, and that's one of the laws that we a lot of us can agree upon. So, and a lot of us has went through this huge lesson, especially over these past couple of years of grieving, and grieving from a spiritual standpoint. What's that look like? I've been through a lot, had a lot of close family members losses that really hurt my heart a lot, and I had to really try to process that in a way. I had a guest on here a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking, and we were going back and forth like me and you are right now, and I'm like, it hit me. I was like, well, just an idea. Maybe not hit me, but it's just an idea. What if everybody that's I've lost over the past couple of years are alive in another dimensional space, and they're mourning my death? I was the one that died in their reality. You
Yeah,
know,
man.
they
Ah,
they, they went they went to sleep and woke up from a dream, and then they see my avatar passing away, and they're because we're all having the same experience at the exact same time from slightly different viewpoints. This infinite amount of viewpoints from source.
yeah.
And man, that's what do you think about that
I
crazy
was
ass
having a
idea?
conversation with somebody earlier about this today, man. No, no joke. And it was basically along the lines of, because he's another guy that had a serious opioid addiction and he's like, have you ever heard of like quantum, like the theory of like quantum timelines? And I'm like, what do you mean? And he's just like okay, so you believe in different timelines? I'm like, yeah, 100%. And we both like agreed that like we probably died a ton of times through opiate overdoses and stuff like that or whatever, and like our consciousness just shifts and jumps to another timeline. So like listen, I know I've died a lot of times on psychedelics. Not died, but like on that, like,
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
had that death experience. Who's to say that when I had that death experience, that it wasn't the death of me on one timeline and then my consciousness jumps to another timeline where I'm still alive? And like we were talking about, this is where the theory of reincarnation could be off. Maybe we're not reincarnated into different lives, but in actuality, we've all been living on this continuous jump from timeline to timeline to timeline to timeline until we reach a place of enlightenment. And see, the thing is that I think that my view of enlightenment, it's like a lot of people are like, oh, I'm enlightened, or like, oh, he's an enlightened master. And like I would like to think that I know a lot, or I know some stuff about these things that I've experienced. But the truth is, man, is like I'm not completely enlightened, because there's a ton that I don't know. I might know what the absolute is, that we're all one and that everything's connected and the answer is love. But the truth is that if I knew everything, what would be the point of doing this? So like, listen, man, like when I've gone down to oneness and psychedelic experiences, what my experience was, the entire universe folded over on top of itself until I was sitting there alone in the abyss of nothingness and I was God. And the truth is that I was just like sitting there and I'm waiting for everything to manifest back out, and it like didn't happen immediately, and I'm just sitting there and I'm like, this is really lonely. I was like, wait a second. It's like, it's not fun being the one. Oh, now I get it. Now we do this. Oh, okay. So now we break into the ocean, the water drops of or the droplets of water in the ocean of consciousness, and put ourselves to sleep and forget that we're God, so we can experience the experience. This is playtime. This is actually fun. This is like, I'm not supposed to be taking this so seriously. And that's when you actually stop taking things so personally, because you realize that this is just what we're supposed to be doing, and like that this is just fun, because it's not fun being all alone in the abyss of nothingness as one. And that was
Because
my
there,
experience.
because there's nothing to do because the divines is reality, man. Like that's exactly what the point I got to, and come back with the book. I was definitely uh, I asked before I come out of that moment. I asked if I could take it back with me, and they said, me or them. I say them, but it's really me. I was like, why the hell are you asking these questions? Like, just fucking do it. Like, if you're gonna do it, do it. Like, if not, just shut up. Like, I guess this is how I talk to myself. Pretty like military wise. Just there's black or white. If you want to take it back with you, take it back with you. If you want to, and yeah, the book is definitely talks about another word for I'm perfect and so are you is I am, and so are you.
Yeah.
And that's I'm glad that I was able to bring all that back and the way I did, and was able to articulate it and put it in to the book. Yeah, I'm gonna run your banner. We're getting down to the end. So I'm sure that you've said it a few times, but what's your message for the people? Here's here's Charles's link, myselfwellness.com.
Center.
dot
center.
center. So
Yeah,
there's a link for his center. You can check out more about him. I'm gonna keep hounding Charles to give me a bio so I can update this. Section down in the bottom of this video for
I
YouTube.
got one. I'll shoot over to you, man.
If you're listening on Facebook, go over and follow us on YouTube, Eagles Nest Podcast. Give us a like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell for upcoming shows and everything. But yeah, Charles, what's your message for the people?
My message for everybody is that we either live in fear or we live in love, and that we are one at the end of the day. So be good to people because you're really being good to yourself. And just as cliche as it sounds, as I heal myself, I heal the world. So all I can do is work on me, and all you can do is work on you. And that's how we transform humanity into a higher state of consciousness.
Cool. Where can people find you at? Like I know that you got the website here. You're on Facebook.
Yeah.
All the socials. I'm assuming.
Yeah, no. So, and listen, and one other thing I want to say to people, man, is that you don't have to suffer anymore if you are suffering out there. That there's an FDA approved medication right now that's sending people into profound psychedelic healing experiences, and that there is hope. And you can get me at charlespatti.com. I have a website, Charles Patti on Facebook, Charles_Patti_official on Instagram. So, and if anybody wants to reach out and talk to me, or if they have any questions about anything, please don't hesitate to reach out.
I appreciate it, brother. So, what you got any events coming up? Any speaking events? And what's the future of My Self Wellness? Like, is there future sites coming? I know you talked at one time about having multiple sites, taking over the planet, and all this stuff. Like, where's that process at right now?
I don't want to speak on anything too soon, but we'll jump on another podcast soon because there's some really exciting stuff that's happening actually. And there's some stuff I'm actually in contract that I can't talk about that's going to be happening on network television too. So keep your eye out for that also.
It's amazing. My Self Wellness Ketamine Treatment Facility. We got the co-founder here, my buddy Charles. I appreciate it. Appreciate what you're doing for humanity.
And thank
And
you, man, for your service to humanity too. I appreciate you and love you, brother.
I appreciate you, brother. Thank you for working on yourself, and thank you for manifesting this beautiful space for people to come and share and get back into their, find their center, find their balance. So I appreciate it. I see you, and I appreciate you, brother. Stick around. I'll holler at you after I shut the show down.
For sure, man.
All right, everybody. Charles Pett from My Self Wellness, Bonita Springs. Check him out. All right, man. Whew. What a conversation. That's a good friend of mine, man. Like, yeah, on past the psychedelics and everything. The psychedelics is just like we were talking about, just a small part of the conversation. The consciousness of humanity and what's going on right now. That's what's going. That's the deal. It really is like, you know, maybe you wondered what it would be like to live in a biblical time or to live in a prophetic time or to see magic like happen in this world. Like, if you haven't seen it yet, you'll see it. If you haven't, it's happening now. Like, and I commend Charles a lot because I know what it takes. I know uh, the fortitude it takes to step forward and start a place like this, step into the truth and listen to these messages from higher source, and what you come to find out is actually yourself in the end. But these messages come through, verbal messages to start this, do that, or have visions to start this, do that. It takes a lot to step forward and do it. So I really commend Charles so much for having the bravery to do that and knowing that he's working, on a higher plane of existence. So I really see that. Appreciate him so much. What a great conversation. Check him out, My Self Wellness in Bonita Springs. We'll definitely have him back on. I promise you guys, I have him back on soon. And yeah, there's so much happening in in this movement, and so much information coming forward, and I can't wait to tell you more about the project that is brewing in my realm. Projects are brewing in my realm. But yeah, if you want to set with traditional ayahuasca, if you want to drink ayahuasca and hear me sing until my voice cracks early in the night, or in the morning, you can come visit. You can come check out cosmictreeoflife.org and go sign up for the retreat coming at the end of August. It's up in Wisconsin. It's going to be around the lake. It's going to be amazing. 26th, 27th, to 28th. And when you sign up with Cosmic Tree of Life, let them know that um, you got referred by me and everything, and that just helps boost my. It helps them ask me back there more and more, and it helps let them know that people are coming to set with me. So yeah, if you're coming to set with me, reach out to Cosmic Tree of Life. Let them know that you're friends with Drew, or you're coming to set with me, and just mention my name when you sign up. That's gonna be up in Wisconsin. It's gonna be amazing. It's gonna there's cabins, there's a lake. Haven't been up there yet personally. Checked it out a lot of pictures and everything. Looks like an amazing setting. I'm really excited to go up there. This is gonna be our first ceremony at the end of August up there. We're gonna be doing more ceremonies there, and once we move from this place, probably doing a few more private retreats here, as we slow down with our ceremonies and start getting more into the moving mode. To Yeah, we don't know where we're going yet. Maybe North Carolina sounds like it's coming up a lot, like we've been talking about. But yeah, we're looking forward to moving to a bigger facility. I am gonna manifest. I'm gonna. I am gonna manifest some bigger investors, so we can have, just a perfect facility that we can really address the demand that we have for sacred journeys within, and me and Ella's ceremonies with Changa, ayahuasca, San Pedro combo, and all the other things that we offer. That's our demand is raising, and our facility has definitely our demand's definitely outgrown the size of our facility. So can't wait to see what the universe has in store for our next spot. It's going to be amazing, I'm sure. And yeah, I can't wait for it to unfold, and yeah, I can't wait to get there. So November 18th through 20th, 18th, 19th to 20th, Zen Awakening Festival, Orlando, Florida. Come hang out with me, Hawk, and Ella at Zen Awakening Festival, Orlando, Florida. Come check us out. I'll be speaking there. Bring your books if you got books, or sign them. I have books there. I also have a booth, some T-shirts, and go check out Sacred Journeys Within over at the shop page. My wife has been designing a new clothing line, and yeah, it's just some really exciting times. She's been doing a lot of work, just amazing stuff that's coming out on there. So go over there and see if anything stands out to you, and yeah, drop an order if you feel it. Appreciate the support. And yeah, this has been another episode of the Eagles Nest Podcast. I am Drew Banky, streaming live from the San Luis Valley in southern Colorado. And one last shout out to our guest, Charles from Myself Wellness in Bonita Springs. Check him out. And there's our website, sacredjourneyswithin.com. Go over and check it out. Links to the books. You can also find the books on Amazon, both the books. And I'm Perfect in Story. You're Find Your Inner Guru. So appreciate it. And catch me next Monday as we welcome our guest, Micah Dank. We're going to be talking about astrology and how we can start seeing the future and telling, maybe seeing some clues to the past and the future from the stars and everything that's around us. Looking forward to that conversation, as I'm sure we're going to get deep into yet another subject on the Eagles Nest podcast. Thanks for having me, and peace out, guys.